Okay, we're good.
On. Hi, Ashley.
Hello.
This is our second chat, right?
Yes,
Yeah, I mean, it's been a minute.
yes, it
And,
has.
and you're getting to meet my daughter, my
Yeah.
sidekick.
I'm so excited for this conversation, though. I really am. I think
Mm,
it's very important. And especially, like you said, with Mother's Day coming up, I think that I feel like, that's something that moms need more. I don't know if it's support is the right word, but kind of, especially like emotional and mental support is
mm,
like a big, especially for me. Like I know I need it so much because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going crazy.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I was feeling just a big empathetic heart for all the mamas and papas last year who were being forced into what we chose,
Right.
being forced to have their children at home and educating them and just having that put into their laps in such a way that where they weren't planned for it, prepared for it, and just it happened. And I honestly, when I tuned in last year, I really reached out to a lot of moms, and I even shared some videos on and said, listen, from my experience, even if you went a whole year and you didn't even open a book with them, and you just let them
Yep.
explore and play, and you just maybe just spent time just getting to know them on a deeper level, and then everything's going to be okay. Like actually, it might even be better for you
Yep.
if you just take that pressure off their plate right now because it was so much. And then from it, a lot of parents are like, actually, I see my child's doing better in this
Right.
situation. So we've
Yeah.
been getting a lot of feedback from people who were on the fence or now thinking, maybe this is what I would like to do, and how do I go about homeschooling or unschooling?
Yeah. That's true. I do think that a lot of parents who, like you said, were forced into it were very much probably turned off about it in the beginning and then turned around and realized that this is actually kind of a gift,
Hmm.
like being able to share this and spend and learn, understand what our kids are learning in the conventional school. And I think that a lot of parents learned that, um and then kind of was like, this, no, like I don't want my kids learning this in a way, type of thing, like so I feel like a lot of those parents are now looking at it as a blessing instead of
Hmm.
kind of like a burden in a way. um I know for me, like I look at it as a blessing. Like I want to be involved with my kids as much as possible and be able to be there and see how their mind is working, and make sure I am facilitating the environment for them to learn and grow, and not for them to be sitting in a desk and daydreaming and being yelled at for it.
Hmm. Or these kids that were just had sent home with an iPad and
Right.
then stuck in an iPad all the time. How did you feel about that when you're seeing the kids being just having to do all their schoolwork on an iPad all day long?
Or on the computer.
Yeah, or the computers. Yeah.
Um, I think it was really, really exhausting for a lot of kids. I remember there being a lot of kids, a lot of, mothers and fathers and parents were, they were like, screen time was very like, oh no, like you need to get off the screen and stuff. And the kids were like, no, I need Minecraft. I need it. And then, and it really, if they had just stepped back and waited for this moment, then the children would have been like, oh, I want to get off of the screen. And they kind of took it into their own hands where they're like, I'm done being on the screen. This is tiring. I want to go outside and play. I want to do other things because I hate being in front of this screen.
Mm.
And so that was really one thing that was really, really awesome about them having all that screen time. And it was just way too much for them, for where they would be like, nope, I don't like this anymore.
Hmm.
And do you feel like you use a lot of screen time now, or no, not at all?
Probably, I would say when I check my phone to see how much, I know that it's like 6 or 7 hours is average for everybody, and mine is typically like 3 or 4 hours. So I do feel good about how much I'm on the screens, but
And you run your business on
and I'm on the
Right.
computers.
computer working a
Yeah,
lot.
so you have to be on this. We have to be on the screens for our businesses.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would rather be making art and playing outside and than being on a screen.
I
Yeah,
think
when
it's
I unschooled her, I didn't use computers that much.
Yeah. And I don't either. I don't either. And I always get these comments from people saying like, "Well, I found this program online that you can use." And I'm like, "I'm not doing any of that." Like I don't want my kid. I'm just a very and just like you are, just hands-on.
Hmm.
So I'm not okay with giving him a screen and saying, "Here, go learn something." Like if we're on a screen, it's usually YouTube learning something
Hmm.
um together, and that's about it. And other than we're doing things other than that. But I feel like it's interesting now to see like how the kids that I guess in the more recent years um have just that's just been their automatic, because they go to school, they get a screen put in front of them, and then that's all they know. They don't know what going outside and building forts is like,
Hmm.
or doing crafts, or painting, or any of those things. Sorry, this is so wobbly.
Oh, good. Yeah, my philosophy on and she was my teacher. I let her be the
Yeah.
teacher, and I let her guide how I taught her. Um,
I did get on the screen when I was little. The one thing that we did do is that if I wanted to watch a movie, I was only allowed to watch documentaries if it was school
Yeah.
time. And I love documentaries. And then Khan Academy, which was really awesome. When I was
it just
in
was
school,
starting then.
it had just started and it was on YouTube.
It
Oh
was
my
it
gosh.
was just him with like a whiteboard.
No, it
Doing
was
it
just
again.
like, oh yeah,
Yes, he did.
him with a whiteboard. And then he got a computer or something happened, and he figured out how he could do it where you didn't see him and you could only hear his voice, and it was like
Yeah.
little dots.
But that's how it started. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's funny.
That would be when she would want to learn something that was out of my knowledge realm. Like,
Right.
yeah. Or when she would want to learn something that I wasn't skilled at, I couldn't um, teach her, we would find apprentices. So she did a
Yeah.
lot of apprenticeships from early on.
Yeah, I think that that's one thing that a lot of parents get hung up on when it comes to unschooling and homeschooling, is that they feel like they have to go to school for 5 years, 4 years, 7 years, whatever, to learn all of these things to be able to teach their own kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's so not true. It's so not
Not
true at
true.
all.
Mm-mm. That's
Yeah, I
not.
I feel like it's one of, I don't want to say easy. It's not always easy, but it's much easier than people make it out to be.
Mm-hmm. I think parents put a lot of pressure on themselves for
Yeah,
it. And there's different types. Like the homeschooling can be where you follow a curriculum,
right.
and a lot of people want to do it like that. A lot of people,
There's also homeschooling where it's none of your parents are doing any of the homeschooling,
mm-hmm,
and it's all on the computer, like
Yeah,
all
yes.
online
That's a
homeschooling.
teacher.
big thing.
That is. That's another way. And then unschooling, the philosophy of unschooling is more of allowing the child's creativity and their interest to guide the education and kind of letting life be the schooling. We call it
Yes.
radical soul schooling.
Yeah, exactly. It's true. And I think that for me, in like just learning as I go, and obviously my son's only 6 and my daughter's 2, so we're very early into this, but I'm learning early on that it's like there's no strict, what do I want to say? What's the word? Um uh like
Structure? Or,
structure, but also like different like science, math,
hmm,
literature. like all of those subjects. That's
Yeah,
it.
subjects.
There's no fine lines between the subjects, because it's not like you have to sit down and learn math for 5 hours and then, do something separate. Like, you can go whenever you're in the kitchen, you're learning math, you're learning how to read, you're learning science, you're learning, like, they all blend together. So and it becomes an experience, which then your kids remember more than if they were to sit there with a book, in my opinion, or just from watching my son.
Mm-hmm.
And then they remember more.
Because we learn through play.
Right.
We remember things more when we're at the frequency of joy and fun and play. The brain actually remembers things more.
Yeah.
So, like it's that I used to take tests and like cram for a test, and you could have asked me the very next day what I passed the test with, and I would not have retained any of it.
Yeah.
I just could figure out how to take a test and pass, but I wouldn't remember things.
And
This girl has a mind full of things that just still today I'll be like, how do you know all that random information?
I would say, like, if somebody was first meeting me, I'm like, yeah, I'm like a weird dictionary and a jukebox had a baby, where it'd be like, at any moment I could be like, porcupines do this. And they'd be
yeah.
like, what?
Exactly. She gave friends the other day the entire history on why horses, we'd be here for an hour and a half, let's not get on the tangent, but why horses shouldn't be, have shoes.
Have shoes.
And all the people at the table were like, wow, I did not know that entire history about that.
And that's awesome. That's exactly how Carter is. He remembers things from years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, how do you, like, I don't even remember this. How do you know this? And it's amazing. But it's because you were interested in it. You weren't just cramming for a test just to pass a test to get a grade.
Mm-hmm.
You were learning things because you actually had a want to learn them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's amazing.
And your daughter will see how fun it is, and she'll learn things even before him. She'll just, like, that's what I'm witnessing. My sister-in-law is homeschooling her 3 daughters, and we're witnessing the 2-year-old already doing things because she wants to be like the 5-year-old, right?
Yeah.
And the 1-year-old.
Oh yeah, she's 18 months right now.
Yeah.
And everybody already knows how to potty. So she's like, oh, I'm going to get on there and I'm going to go potty too.
Yep.
So last week she learned how to go pee-pee on the potty.
She just wanted to do it.
That's
she
awesome.
gets in on Monet's art class, the 18-month-old, and she's doing her own art, and she's holding it up and showing the group of kids.
Yep.
She wants to be in it. So
that's awesome
too. Yeah.
That is so awesome. Yeah. And I feel like, and maybe, I wonder how you felt about this, but I definitely feel like it takes a lot of self-trust, but not just within you, but that your kid's going to learn what they want to learn. And they're going to learn all the things that they, quote unquote, need to learn, like basics of things, of life skills and stuff, and trusting that when they're ready, they're going to go all in, instead of forcing things like, oh, you need to learn how to read by age 6, or, something's wrong with you. You know what I mean? But like, and like, instead of pushing them into things, you allow them to discover them on their own and go all in. And it's just like that with potty training too. I just learned that with my 2-year-old. I had the potty sitting there. I never tried. I never, I encouraged her. I showed her where it was, and said, when you're ready. And then it was a couple weeks, or no, just a week ago. And then she just decided that she was going to do it. And she just did. And she's been fully potty trained ever since. And it's just like, it's amazing. So it's like really awesome to see that, just like when they're ready, they're going to do it. And that can apply to anything in life once they get that mentality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Trusting your children. That's been my path. Is like, Monet came here. She chose me as her mom. And she's been my teacher as much as I've been her teacher. And I trust her. And we did struggle a lot along the way because she and I are both dyslexic. I didn't realize I was dyslexic till I was old, we figured out that she was.
Yeah.
And so we had a lot of pressure, outside pressure, like, you need to get her specialist. You need we bought this program and that program, and we sat at the kitchen table and cried a lot over multiplication until one day we put the multiplication away and said, let's leave. Leave the
Yeah.
And I'm so glad we did, because I don't think we knew the scientifics of what was happening with my brain if we did go on. But scientifically, and like in your brains, the neurons in your brains, when your brain immediately it relates to something. So if I had just kept getting frustrated with math, my brain would have thought math and thought math, frustrating, hard, I didn't like it, that's a bad negativity feeling that I had towards math. So then anytime it would come up, the feelings that I would feel would be bad, frustrating, negative emotions. And so when you want, how you learn, you want to bring those happy, positive emotions, so that when they think of math, they think of, oh, happy, positive emotions. I want to do that.
Yeah.
And it's the survival senses, or whatever it is, from when we didn't, like when we were hunters and gatherers, and when you would hear a certain sound or something, you would relate that to, oh, that's a bear, I should be scared. But then nowadays it's not like a bear, it's math, because it was hard. And I will say, I had the best math teacher in the world.
You did.
For me, I mean,
it wasn't
Mr.
me.
Noodle. My math teacher's name was Mr. Noodle, the best name ever, and he understood that. And so he understood that he would ask us, what are our interests? And then it was mostly word problems and then puzzles. And so he'd be like, oh, you're interested in horses? These are everyday things with a horse that you would have to know.
Yep.
So this is a word problem that involves real life things with horses. And so then you'd be like, oh, this is something that I would actually be doing with horses. I'm going to learn this math that goes with it. And then you're learning math for real life things.
That's so true. That's awesome. And yeah, exactly. Because it's whenever you're interested in it and you're learning and you're connecting the dots, like you said, in your brain as kids, that's important, because we're often told that kids only play at certain times of the day, or, recess. And then what does every kid wait for whenever they go to school? Lunch and recess.
Yeah, lunch and recess. Yeah. Yeah. More play. The same for adults, And the thing, she's teaching an art class now, and it's based on when children get to be that 5 to 7 age,
It's first and second graders.
Yeah, they stop being as creative because they want to make things perfect, and they start comparing themselves to other people.
It's their own self-critic. That's when your own self-critic develops in your brain. And so anything that you're doing in your life, you'll be looking at everybody else to see how they're doing it. And it's when you need to give your child more of, oh, you're doing great, this is amazing, because to them, they might know, might not, but developmentally, they're perfect just where they are. But they see other kids and they might be farther ahead than they are, and they think, oh, I'm not good.
Yeah.
But then that sticks in their brain, and then that's what becomes their little person in their head that tells them, oh, blah, 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 blah. All these negative.
You're not worthy. You're not good enough.
Not worthy. Yeah.
And then you carry that into your adulthood.
Yeah. And that's why when I do my art classes, that's the age that I really focus on doing art with, because that's the age that I want to imprint, like, you're doing great, like, this is perfect.
There's no mistakes.
There's no mistakes. And I'm always like, there's no mistakes, it's just a new direction, and you learn something new with your art. And it teaches them that,
to trust themselves, too.
Yeah.
I think that's just really important, and that school unfortunately stifles that out of children, is to trust our intuition. We don't have Harry Potter school, so we don't
Right.
learn. We get that gift gets yeah, it gets quieted basically,
Yeah.
that intuition within ourselves. And so parents, to trust your child is super important for unschooling and letting them, their interests guide the way, because every soul came here with their own unique gift to
Yep.
share. Every single one of us. And so your child might have something, your child does have something that's unique from anybody that's ever been on the planet.
Yep.
So allowing them to, the more we teach our children, the more we allow our children to just be themselves, trust in themselves, and we let them expand that their gifts, then the quicker they're gonna be able to share what they have with the world.
Yeah. And that's a good point. The quicker they will be able to, because
Mm-hmm.
whenever you take someone who, like we talked about this before, like I experienced, and I'm pretty sure that you said you experienced too, is that you have this bright light to shine and then you're put in this box, as soon as you go to school, you're put in this box. And if you don't fit into the box, there's something wrong with you. And it takes you longer to get to the, I don't want to say end point, but the, into yourself to know who you truly are, because you've had all these layers and layers and layers put on you of who you should be and what you should do, instead of being who you really are. And I know that's something that I help my clients with, is like peeling back all those layers because they're not serving you.
Yep.
So, but as unschooling parents, whenever you start out when they're young, or as soon as you can, nurture that intuition, their own personal interests and directions, they're going to be, if you're worried about your kids being successful, I feel like that's the best way to help them be successful,
Mm-hmm.
by nurturing their gifts and what they're interested in and what they need, instead of undoing, like I had to do. I had to undo everything that I learned because I was told that I wasn't smart. You were this, you were that. You're behind, you're not good at this, all these things. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. I'm like, why am I doing this? So that's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah. It's these children. There's so many kids that have these amazing gifts. Minnie
Yeah.
started her first business when she was 9. She's always had that all this Capricorn energy and this business mindset, and she would just start a new business over and over again. Tutus, headbands, face painting at the farmer's market.
Yeah.
And she helped me manage a farmer's market. And
Yeah, when I found out that I could make my own money, I was like, oh yes, I can make my own money doing things.
Yeah.
that I love.
Buy ice cream. Because I was 9, so.
Yeah. Yeah,
No, that's awesome.
By myself.
people would ask her, "What grade are you in?" And she eventually
Yes.
got the confidence to say, we don't do grades. I'm into this. Or she would tell people then, "This is what I'm interested in," or "This is what I'm working on now."
Mainly, I'd just be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get asked that all the time. Or Carter always gets asked, what grade are you in? He's like, I don't know. I'm homeschooled, like,
Wow.
And
Yeah.
I want to ask them what my age is. Like,
right.
why does it?
Or what I'm interested in. Or yeah.
We relate
Yeah.
grades to ages within kids. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you're around 7 to 8 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
what?
Because a
No.
lot of times kids, and like you said, they're our greatest teachers, which is so true. But also they come here tapped in, tuned in, turned on to their intuition. So they, to be honest, know more than most adults.
Yes.
So I trust, Carter, like I ask his advice for almost everything. So like, how do you feel about this? Like, what is your feeling about this?
Mm-hmm.
Because even though I'm tapped into my intuition, I'm still working on peeling back my layers. So I always am like, okay, how do you feel about this? And 9 times out of 10, he's like spot on. So it's just like so interesting to see that and to learn, and just go with what they know. And again, not putting them in a box, not putting them with an age, with a grade, with all the things that, you know, we're conditioned to think are important, and understanding that they actually mean nothing. Because I feel like as every parent, not maybe not every parent, but hopefully we would hope, right? They want their kids to be happy, to be successful, to be thriving.
Mhm.
But I feel like a lot of parents are confused that they have the ability to be able to provide that for their children.
Mhm. Yeah. It's so much easier than you think it's going to
Yes,
be. And do we
yeah,
need more community? Absolutely.
yes,
Because there are some parents that it's not easy for, but because they need community, because they don't
yeah,
have community. But if you drop into community, yes, it's quite doable. It's quite easy. And we never did 9 months of schooling. Life was just education
yes,
year round. It was never, yeah, we just always were learning things.
And I continued to do school in the
Mhm.
summertime. I just did a lot less because I wanted to hang out with my friends.
Mhm.
But I still did school.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah. And a lot of times is what would happen would be I at the end of the school year I'd stop doing math, and then at the beginning of the school year I would have to start all over again because I would forget
right.
it within the summer. And so we continued to have to do math, and I would do like 5 problems in the morning or something like that just to retain it and just keep it going in my brain. And I would be like, okay, cool. I also drank a tiny, like starting at the age of 12 or something like that, maybe 10 or
I don't
12.
think you were 12. I was talking about drinking a little bit of coffee in the
I
morning.
drank a little bit of coffee in the morning because my
Now I
brain would
would
be a
say
little bit froggy.
I would say now we have a lot more ways to do that, but we did do that back in the day. There's but it is true. And we're talking like a little
Oh,
bit, but
it
yeah,
was like a tiny cup, like those little
Yeah,
mini mason jar things that was like
yeah,
halfway full.
now we drink like mushrooms, matcha, any of those
Yeah.
yeah,
things.
yeah,
But
for
better than
sure.
Adderall or Ritalin.
Right, exactly, exactly. I know
Yeah.
Carter, he loves coffee. Like, he loves it. And I drink decaf mostly, but there's still a little bit of caffeine in there. So he has these little cups that look just like ours, and he has a cup with me in the morning.
Love it. Yeah.
So sweet.
So, but our it's funny you talk about the mushrooms and stuff. Like, we have the functional mushrooms in our creamer and stuff.
Mm,
So like he gets all that too. You know what I mean? And it's mostly creamer that he's drinking, but
yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah, and we got to learn all about nutrition along the way, and because
Yeah,
they did want to medicate her when she did go to school in first grade, and that's when I pulled her out. You know, I was
right.
not going down that journey.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Kindergarten.
yeah, so then it became a thing where I did want to learn about how to keep a child focused. And now that I'm all in, we've studied human design. There's a gene, a genetic, one of our genetic codings that's called the gate of focus. And
That's so interesting.
everybody that has that, and it's actually, they call it the gate of genius. And here we're medicating and putting people in this box that they have a learning disability
Yep.
when it's described as the gate of genius because it pulses on like electrical circuit when somebody's excited about something or they're meant to do something, their soul inspires them to something, all of a sudden they'll have a surge of energy. Like she would have that.
It's
And
a hyper focus.
and be like you couldn't stop her focus from something
Right.
she's creating or studying, and then it pulses off. And the Western system wants to keep them on that all the time, so they want to medicate them so that they're on all the time, which fries our circuitry really.
Yep.
Which also, if you think about it, for people who do have it, like me, I have a hyper focus. If I was hyper focused all the time, like they would want me to be, if I was on Adderall or Ritalin, I have no idea what I would do. Like that's like way too much.
Right.
It's like you
Energy, you'd fry
could never
out.
sleep if you were high on coffee all the time.
Right.
And you never got downtime. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Natural
think that,
rhythm is that.
yeah. And if there's the amount of what is it like? There's so many millions of kids under the age of 5 that are on Ritalin now. And it's like, oh, your kid's way too hyper. Here you go. You know, give them some Ritalin and an iPad so that they sit there and do nothing, you know. And it's so sad. It's so sad because if they would just have proper creative outlets that can easily be put into your home, and maybe that's something that we should talk about on another conversation,
Yeah.
is how to have creative outlets in your own home for moms and dads and things for their kids. Because that's a lot what I'm learning with Carter is having those, the painting, the art, the
Mhm.
cooking, the cleaning, like all those healthy outlets. And he's so much more calm and he's not as overstimulated, because like now, since he doesn't really watch TV, we watch like cooking and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But if he were to sit there and watch TV, like he would be way too overloaded, you know?
Yeah.
So
That's what we're witnessing. We're witnessing
yeah,
that. That's what it wasn't that all of a sudden humanity developed this disease, ADD,
right.
ADHD. It's we have televisions and everything moves too fast, and we have these screens that are like zapping this information.
Yep.
And we have dyes in our food, and we have
Yep.
glyphosate in our food, and
Yep.
so
It all contributes.
it all contributes to it. Yeah.
Also,
Yeah, we should have a conversation on
Yeah.
the food and what that does one time too.
Yes. Yes.
also, a 5-year-old is supposed to have energy.
Exactly. Yes.
You can't expect him not to be hyper. He's a child.
Yes.
Yep.
He's a child. You have
Yeah.
ADHD. I'm a kid. Of
Yeah.
course I have ADHD. I'm hyper all the time. Give me more sugar and I'll be really, really hyper.
Yeah.
Right.
Part of this unschooling idea too is it gives this trust back to the child, allows the child to be themselves.
Yeah.
Is that if we love our children that much and we can change this, we're changing the world one family at a time.
Yes, we are.
So that because I know you do the same thing, but I'm working with my adult clients. And we're having to go back and heal our inner child.
Yep.
Bring our inner child back home because we're meant to be childlike and that purity and it starts with parents being like, sit still, be quiet, you're too
Right.
loud. Even when we're in our bliss and a child's having so much fun and joy and it's too much for a parent and they're like, be quiet, you're too much for me. That is like quieting their inner child. That's shaming their inner child. So part of that, if you're going to have your children at home, is being able to create a balance of that. So your children are outside, or they have these outlets, but the freedom to be themselves and express their emotions healthy. And it's going to change the world the more we can
It
do
is.
this.
And I found that like if Carter's like that and if he's like, yeah, you know what I mean, like going crazy or whatever, or being loud or stuff, if you just get involved for like a minute with him and like just go all out with him, then he stops. Like then he's like, okay, yay, and then it's moving on to something else. Instead of us yelling at our kids, if we just get involved more and get excited with them for a hot minute, and then they're like, okay, moving on. Like I feel like that's the best way to calm them down, to be honest.
I love it. That's perfect.
Yeah. I get why like some parents want to do that. They want to tell their kids like, it's time, like it's be quiet. It all comes from like respect. Like you need to respect space and the environment. But they're a little kid and you can do this in better ways and communicating better rather than yelling and screaming and just being like, just please shut up, I can't take this anymore. Like that's you. That's you. And I've had these moments when I'm babysitting, I'm like, he has sung the same songs like 15 times now, and I don't know if I can take it anymore. But that's all me.
Yeah,
That's
right.
not him. And that has nothing to do with respecting the space.
Right.
Yeah. And if you think about it, I remember like if there was a sound that I like and I was curious, I would say the sound over and over and over again. That's all they're doing. They're curious and there's something that's a sensation that's going on that they're like, whoa, this is really cool. My voice sounds really cool right now. I'm just going to keep doing it. Like, they're just exploring. Playing.
Yeah. That's awesome. So
I'm excited. I'm excited for your journey.
yeah, me too. I am. It's interesting, to feel like my confidence level, how much it has grown within the last year, and like you said, like about everyone asking, what grade are you in? When do you start school? Blah, 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 blah. And after a while, you just kind of are like, okay, no, but it's interesting. Like, Monet, do you feel like you get challenged a lot now by like other kids, or is it more adults? Like, you obviously are very confident with, you know what I mean, like where you are, which is amazing, and that's the whole point of it.
Yeah. I would say that yeah, I would get challenged, like I get challenged and stuff with, but those are just my own mental thoughts and things. Like, oh, like I don't feel like I'm doing this right. I mean, like I'm starting into going into adulthood now, and there's this part. It's right in this age where you're coming out of high school, you're going into college. It's everybody's telling you you need to grow up, you need to grow up, you need to become an
Right.
adult, and this is when you become an adult and you do adult things and stuff. But there's a part of you that's like just trying to just hold on to your childhood just a little bit longer, and it's that whole part. And then you look at other people and you're like, wow, they're so amazing where they are. And you just have to you just have to remind yourself, especially like me right now, I'm just having to remind myself where I am right now is great. Like, everything that's happened to me right now is all in good timing, and everything will happen as it should be. And whatever's challenging right now, it's something that I need to go through, um, for something in the future, because that's why it was put on my lap. This challenging thing was put on my lap because I need to overcome it, because something more challenging is going to overcome is for me is I'm going to have to overcome something else. It's going to be a lot harder. And so
Yeah.
yeah, just
Yeah.
just
Imagine if
reassuring
like
myself that everything.
imagine if every adult had that same mentality. That would be amazing. Because, like, I
Yeah.
know I learned that,
Yeah.
a couple years ago, that everything's happening for a reason, and it's causing me to grow and evolve and become the best version of myself. But, a lot of people don't understand that, until they're, rediscovering their self when they're, a lot older. You become resilient, I feel like,
And
with
it's
the
not
past.
easy.
Right. No, it's not. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy. It's hard. It's so hard. There are days when you just want to cry your eyes out, and you're like, I can't do this. It looks so easy, but it's so hard.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
and that's just how it is.
Yeah.
It's hard. And if you have somebody like how my mom is amazing, if you have somebody in your life to help you out, that is going to make it a whole lot easier. Somebody being like, yeah, it's okay. And it's okay to take self-care days for these challenging times.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. She has the tools now to then trust her own intuition and
Yeah.
and to be her own boss and to create her own schedule. Like in school, they tell you what to do. They give
Right.
you deadlines for this and that. She's had to come up with her own deadlines, her own um, processes in that way, and that's taught her to structure her time and balance things in that way.
And it's a bit challenging because we had a pretty um, being, like, I crave, like, my Capricorn energy craves structure and stuff,
Yeah.
but it was so great that when I was a kid that we flowed.
she she has me that's like I live in the moment and I'm like we've moved and just traveled and been gypsies and all these things. And I remember she was probably 11 or 12 when we were driving along and she said, Mom, you're really lucky. And I said, I know I am. And she said, yeah, you're really lucky because I just go with the flow with you. We balance each other out.
But imagine if I was in structure as a little kid and I had totally honed in on that Capricorn energy. Then, as I grew older, I would, when something had come where I had to be in the flow of something, there would have
It might have
been,
been hard for you.
it would have been a lot harder.
Yeah.
So then now already having that flow,
Yeah.
and then me wanting the structure is a lot easier now. And
Yeah.
And I've learned to have structure and how good it is.
yeah, and I help you sometimes.
You do.
And having that like emotional resilience that you're not taught in school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of you.
She's really good at manifesting what she wants too.
See,
And
that's
another thing.
amazing.
Yeah, we could teach our children that. Like when you actually really want something, you meditate, you pray, you contemplate on it, you draw it out, and then it comes. Like she's been wanting to do a mural, and then it just fell in her lap that somebody's like, actually, I want this mural to be done, and so she's doing her first mural. Those kind of things, just how energy works, how this realm actually works.
Exactly. Yeah. It works a lot different than what we're told. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's something too that I mean, a lot of parents who are on the fence here about doing things is that you kind of have to unschool yourself first and realize that all of those structures and things, they mean nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do, whatever you want. And like you said, I think that like you said, shutting the books for a year and just seeing what happens. I think that's really good advice.
Yeah. Yeah. We had when we went to Standing Rock that year, we didn't open a book. Life was a book. Life was the experience. And I think when somebody was asking me the other day, how could I homeschool if I traveled? Oh, easily.
Right.
Very easy.
It's going to teach them about food and culture and people and different parts of nature. It's going to be amazing. And
Yeah.
Every moment in traveling is a teaching moment.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I encourage all unschooled families to travel.
And if you want to have a little bit of more structure and more subject with that, just plan like you're going to these places. So, be like, we're going into the forest. Let me know some things about the forest before we get in there and be like, yeah, and these are what all these plants are, so that you can have a better teaching moment within that.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, you just have to facilitate. You don't have to know all the answers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I feel like a big overwhelming thing, for parents is that I don't know enough, but whenever you disconnect and then reconnect with the world, that is your resource. The world is your resource. You don't have to have a book in front of you or read, 500 different novels in order to be able to educate your kids, like on the forest.
Yeah. And you'll see, it'll be a bonding experience for you to grow and learn with your children. Like and if you can, we learn to do it in ways where they think that they're the ones that had the idea to do it.
Yeah.
Because you plan it and then you allow them, they get so excited about it, then they want to show you all the things that they're learning about it, and you bond, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's what we're all here for, is connection and
right.
Yeah.
Connection and I mean, you don't get that time back with your kids ever. And we're just taught to just outsource our power in that way. And there's a lot of value in bringing it back and figuring out, and your life might look a lot different. I know a lot of parents within the last year who have, like you said, been pretty much forced to do this in a way. Your life has looked a lot different because maybe you had to make money differently or things of that nature. but I feel like there's so much value in that. There's so much value in this last year when it comes to education and what parents can learn from this and seeking out other alternatives. And then I think also what's interesting is that, whenever you go to traditional school, and you go and you like Monet was talking about, like you're forced to learn things that you don't really want to learn, or you're not interested in it. And so then what do most people do? They think that that's how life is. So then they graduate and then they get a job at doing something that they think that, yeah, well, I'll make money doing this, or this is what my parents want me to do. And then it's a mediocre life. And then they eventually, and then maybe they have a mental breakdown when they're, in their 50s or 60s.
Yeah.
And then everything, falls apart because they've been not living through their soul.
Yeah.
Or they had a dream and their parents was like,
how could that happen? You could never do
how
that.
no.
How could
Right.
you afford that? Well,
Yes, that's a
how
big
can you
thing.
make a living out of that?
Yeah, how are you going to make a living out of that?
Yeah.
And then now, we're working with people that are so miserable in a job and they're just doing it because they're afraid they won't be able to survive. They're still in survival mode.
Yes.
They won't be able to survive if they break free from that. I tell people, like, one of my greatest gifts is helping people learn how to be quitters.
Yeah.
I'll teach you how to quit something that's not serving you.
Yeah.
And take that leap of faith.
That's a great point.
Remember who you were as a child. What did you love to do as a child? And you're going to make more money energy when you're doing what you love and lighting up the world.
Yeah, because there's not a desperate energy connected with it. And I don't, we're not taught that, money is energy. Everything's energy, but money especially is energy. And whenever you are just doing something to chase it, you're always going to be chasing it. Whenever you stop and look at what you love to do and how you can serve and help people in a way that, in your own unique way, it just comes to you.
Yeah.
It's not a stressful, like you were talking about earlier, like connecting math with stress. If you were forcing yourself, it's the same thing. But because we're taught that mentality as kids in school, you have to force things in order to get it done. Then they take that into, their financial health, especially as grown-ups, and then everything's stressful. You have to force things to get money. You have to force things so that you can have your needs met. And it's so backwards.
Yep. It's backwards. I just now remember that I had a dream last night. I didn't even tell you this. We got a letter from Hogwarts.
What?
Yes,
Oh my
God.
Is it an owl? An owl
We
sent
got
us
an
a
owl
letter?
that came to us and he said, we need you at Hogwarts. We need 2 new alchemy professors. And we went to Hogwarts last night. It was so awesome. And they were like, they hired us to be their new professors of alchemy.
They're alchemy professors.
It was
I'll
such
be
a-
your alchemy
Awesome.
teacher.
It was such a great dream. And I'm always talking about, in Destiny Mapping, I'm always saying, we didn't have a Hogwarts school, so we've got to create that with our children to teach them, to remind them that how magical they actually are.
It's so interesting because ever since Harry Potter had came out, I was so attached to it. And for something in me was like, this can be real. This can be real. And I'm not necessarily saying you can wave a wand and things can happen, but there was a part of it, the magical part of it. And I'm like, no, there's something's here. Like why I felt so connected to it. And then that was like one of the first movies Carter and I watched when he was little. And we didn't watch like the Disney movies and all that stuff. It was Harry Potter. And he was like, I want to say 4. And he was like addicted to it. He was like, this is awesome. So we watched that together and he's been like on it ever since. So that's interesting that you say that because I feel like there is so much truth into that, I guess, mentality and thought process that goes into the Hogwarts and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And making stuff happen.
Making things happen. She used to draw dresses in her journal, and we would find that dress at like a resale shop or something. The exact dress she had drawn in her journal. That's alchemy. I need a new wheel on my car needs a bent wheel, and this morning a truck just pulled in front of me and then went to this lane, and it was like mobile wheel repair. I was like,
Oh my
write
gosh, yeah,
that
see?
down. That's how alchemy works. That's how
Yep.
everything just shows up. And the more I trust and the more I let spirit flow through me, that's how it all shows up. Everything
Yep.
just boop, boop, boop.
Yeah.
When you're tapped in, tuned in, turned on.
Yep. It's a magical life.
Yes, it is. It is. And it is magical.
Hmm. Yeah, I love working with the little ones. Like when little ones are here, just like, you just left. Like, tell me all the secrets that you know, because you're just fresh.
Little baby.
You're just fresh in there. Yeah, and it's true. They do.
That's
Play the
awesome.
game where you
Yeah.
ask. Do you play the game with your child where you ask what's in your mind? Picture game. That's a good one to play.
You know what? No. What is that? I would like to.
She
there's
taught it to me when I was little.
There's an actual name. There's an actual name for a game called Get It, Got It, or no, it's called Got It, and it's where you can do it with two people, and you say a word, and then you say got it, and then you say another word, and sometimes on like the second try you say the same word.
In your mind.
No, out loud.
Well, I was talking about the mind game we used
I
to
know,
play where we were
but
picturing.
this is
Oh,
a game
okay.
where it's almost like you guys are like
Oh,
you guys
thinking the same.
focus in, and then you say the thing that you guys were thinking,
Oh, okay.
and sometimes it's the same word,
Oh, yeah.
and it can be like the same way.
Basically a telepathy game.
Yeah. Telepathy is strong when you're on that level.
Yeah.
We did it one time.
We did.
We've done it.
We used
a
to
couple.
practice. We used to practice that one.
We were in this cabin,
We don't need to tell
and we were sitting down, and we were like, spaghetti. Yeah, spaghetti.
I love you.
It was so awesome.
That's so funny.
We tried it so many times before, and it wasn't working, and we were like, and then finally we're like, yes!
But now we just say the same things at the same time. all the
Yeah.
time.
Or
Yeah,
finish
like
each other's sentences.
Or we finish each other's sentences. Yeah.
Yeah. That's how we are in my house too. It's amazing.
Yes.
It's amazing. Yeah. You're like the connection that you have whenever you're all intertwined instead of so disconnected. It's just, that's the real gift.
Amazing. We could talk forever.
I know.
That was sick. What do you have going on right now? Any like coaching wise or anything like that? What do you got going on?
So let's see. Right now, I think I told you I got kind of kicked off of Facebook. So now I'm still in the middle of figuring out other things. I got my emails up. So I've been emailing, my past clients, all that stuff. But I'm looking for a way to expand now. Like, I need to expand in a different way. And I've kind of just been taking the last, probably about a month or so. Probably about a month or two, I'd say, and just kind of purging everything. Like mentally, physically, I could feel myself up leveling. I'm like, I'm getting ready for this next level of life. So my whole house is rearranged. I got rid of a lot of things. I got some new things that are more intentional, functional, more self-sufficient. And it's so interesting. And then I did this mental purge and I didn't even like encourage it. It just kind of happened where it was like, I could feel a whole new level of light in my body. It was a very interesting feeling. And I was just like, I'm not okay here anymore. And I don't know what here meant really, but it was like, wherever I am right now, this is not okay. I need to change everything to meet where my mind is. Because I couldn't handle it anymore. And so that's what I've been doing for the last like month and a half, 2 months.
Ooh, you're making fertile ground to birth something.
Yes, exactly. So I don't know what the next, should I say, phase of my business is going to look like, but I'm ready to meet those new clients and to up level in that way. So I'm just over here self-caring. Because that's what my angel guides told me, like in my dreams and stuff. They brought me all these numbers, and it was mostly about you know, while you are waiting for that next level and that next thing to happen,
Mhm.
just focus on you. Self-care, self-care, self-care. So I've been upping my skincare routine, you know, just stuff like that.
Yeah,
Just getting ready for whatever whatever it is that's coming.
that's beautiful because that'll be, yeah, you're preparing for what's coming through you next.
Yep.
Yeah, and you'll be
Yeah.
able to offer. I love it.
Yeah.
We'll keep you posted.
I will. So what about you? How are you feeling right now?
We're good. When we were in our little cocoon in the mountains this winter, that was we were cocooning and creating, you know. And so I started doing, you know, I do the destiny mapping readings, and so does Monet. Monet works with more younger adults and children and young adults, where we do, you know, we read your astrology, your human design, and your gene keys all weaved together. So that's one of our offerings. But what came through this winter was to do group immersions to really dive into each of these, like to really get to know these parts of ourselves, and then to bring our inner child back home, to see where in these parts of ourselves we're still in that shadow work. We're still in fear. We're not really
Yeah.
thriving in these gifts of ours. Like, yes, it's important to know yourself. So that's what destiny mapping does. It helps you know yourself, know what your purpose is. And then I'm doing these group immersions where, as a group, we're learning about ourselves and how to really thrive in our purpose and take those steps. And then Monet and I are getting ready to create a group immersion for family destiny mapping this summer.
Yeah, that's
That's
awesome.
what's been coming through. That was probably the Hogwarts dream that I had last night, and I'm
Yeah.
excited about it.
And then also we're doing, because of Mother's Day, we're doing a mother-daughter destiny mapping sessions.
Yeah, like,
That's neat.
so even if like it's like my mother, like yeah, it was very healing for me to read my mother's chart, for us to go through our charts together.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the
That's interesting.
yeah,
Or mother-son.
we're mother sons,
Yeah, you know.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, it's exciting.
Mother-child.
Yeah, I'm excited for the family destiny mapping. Um, I just love connecting with families and supporting the little star seeds on the planet now, and to
Exactly.
knowing themselves. You know, the children that find me to do their destiny mapping are just galactic beings that are ready to
Yes.
tell my parent who I am, so that
Right.
they listen to me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's so true. Yes. Yes, that's exactly that's Carter. That is Carter to a T.
I can't wait
That's
to
a
find out
star
what his
seed.
mind is. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I had a client send me, and not client because we're just family. One of
Yeah.
my destiny mapping family sent me a picture of her son who I had done a reading with, and he is this galactic being, and he wanted to be homeschooled. He was too empathic for school. It was exhausting
Yeah.
him. And he wasn't into baseball. He just wanted to come home and study the galaxy, right? I mean, he's 11, but let him do that. He's a genius. And so I got a picture of him in a full two-piece galaxy suit. He's
Oh my
11.
God.
Like, I love this kid. Like, these are the kids that I get to connect with.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's what we're doing, and playing and traveling, and
Yeah.
she's teaching art classes.
And I'm teaching art classes, so I'm teaching the art classes from like first grade to second graders, and then I'm doing a watercolor class for everyone, for really like all ages, so that elders, you know, young adults and adults can all like come together, and it can really like bring the community together, because like that's one thing that I don't like about like what are they called, like elderly like living homes or something like
Yeah.
that.
Assisted living, or yes, those
Illicit living
places.
homes, like where it's just adults or like with just
Right.
elders, and there's no younger kids, like there's no college age kids that are living in there too, that
Yeah.
can be helping out their elders in their community.
I love you.
And so that's why I like really am loving this coming out. It's because, you know, it brings the whole community together. And also, like, I know that in these times a lot of elders and grandmas and grandpas have been, they're either too scared to come out or they can't come out into like
Right.
the world, and they
Yeah.
can't see their grandkids. And so this is a great way for them to, make art with their grandkids or just their sons and daughters,
Yeah.
Yay. I love you.
And then my mural.
And you're doing your mural.
My mural.
I love you so much, Ashley. I'm so excited for all the conversations ahead of us as well.
I know. I think this is going to be so great. So great.
And one day, can I see us collaborating one day, co-creating together sometime?
I'm there.
Love it.
I think it's gonna yeah, I think it's gonna be awesome.
And yeah, I believe you.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Well, we will continue this conversation.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. And we'll connect sooner rather than later next time.
Okay, sounds good to me.
All right. Well, thank you, Monet. I'm so excited I finally got to meet you.
Thank you.
And I'm sure we will connect again soon.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice. It's so nice having your perspective just because you've been through, the things that most people have questions about.
Yeah.
And you're living proof of what's possible.
Yeah.
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 You're amazing.
I think a lot of people, think there's, parents, the one thing that's like homeschooling, unschooling, like how are they going to graduate? How are they going to be successful? And I'm
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I was homeschooled. I didn't even graduate high school. I didn't even go to college, and I'm doing pretty okay myself.
You're thriving, honey.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. That's a big question that I used to get all the time. I would get challenged on it. Well, how's it going to get into college? How's it going to get into college?
Actually, homeschoolers, you have a better rate of getting into college than kids who went into school.
Mm-hmm.
Colleges actually seek out homeschoolers because they are more of a self-starter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You might take she's considering taking some university courses too for some adult therapy and some things she wants to learn about. So
and also she can give me there are some homeschool.
I can write her that diploma anytime she wants it.
Yeah,
right.
She's felt like, do I really even need that? Like, what could I do even without that?
And honestly, I feel like I don't want to say most, but a good bit of unschooled kids go up and they start their own business. They are their own CEO. They thrive, so they can do anything. It's not a matter of I need someone to teach me how to make money and live a life and make a living. It's how can I make a living for myself? Mm-hmm. And that's, and they're not afraid of failing or whatever, it's just like, okay, here we go. And they're on that path and they go and go and go. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to worry about that.
Yep, because there's no failing in unschooling. There's only falling and getting back up. So she was never taught that she was a failure or that she was going to get an F grade. We didn't do grades. She never failed at anything. We fall and we get back up as human beings. We're only trained by the system that we fail at anything.
Exactly.
It's a lie.
Big lie. It's a very big lie. So many lies. We are not meant to fit in a box.
We are not. Yeah, that was a perfect ending to our conversation. Thank you, Monet.
Because that is one of the biggest questions that people ask, So yeah. Yep. All right. Well, I guess I'm gonna stop the recording here in a second, but for everyone watching, thank you very much. And if you have any more questions or if you want Sarah, Monet, or me to answer anything, just please drop them in the comments below.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, everyone.